When did you realize that hard work does not always pay off? When they reward you for getting your work done well by giving you everyone else's work to do. Pretty much every job I've had. I feel this in my soul. Even better when your boss rewards you with bits of their work and positions it as a great learning opportunity. Yes, please let me do the B work parts of your job while getting paid $45k less per year. I guess that's why they get paid so much. They've implemented creative strategies for cost savings and efficiencies. Easily retail. Those performance-based raises are deliberately rigged to not give people the best raises. I only really understood how much when I became a manager and was overruled on how much to give my employees a raise when I gave them a 5/5. I was told, and I quote, "No one is a 5/5. She came in whenever we called, stayed late whenever we needed, was the epitome of the perfect employee and was well loved by everyone that shopped there." They changed her evaluation from a 5/5, which was I believe a 50-ish cent raise, still not enough, to a 3/5, which was a 10-cent raise. She quit a few weeks after I told her, and no one we've hired has been half as productive as she was. I find it super interesting that companies don't realize that it's better to pay someone 20% more that works as hard as 2 people than to hire 2 people. Worked this office job for 9 years, ever since I turned 16. They kept giving me responsibilities, never any pay raise beyond the minimum they had to, all the while telling me how I was indispensable. Then COVID hit and they laid off all my co-workers. They told me I could stay, but for less hours than before and definitely no pay raise, just more responsibilities, either working from home or in an empty office. I declined the offer and quit right then and there. Felt pretty cheated though. Like most people here, my first job, I was working at a pizza place known for letting you, the customer, bake the pizzas at home. I was working minimum wage, but I felt like I'd been there a while and wanted to move up. So I talked to my boss about a possible raise. She said she'd keep an eye on my performance over the next month and see if I deserved it. Now, there was another employee there by the name of Jimmy. Jimmy was great. There was a rush because in those instances, just having an extra pair of hands makes a difference. But in all other aspects of running the store, he was useless. He slacked off and left his work for the rest of us to do. Of course, the manager loved him. After a month of picking up every shift I could and doing every unpleasant task assigned to me, my boss tells me that I've been doing a fantastic job and that I earned my raise. I looked in my check and I was now making an extra $0.50 HR. Not great, but I was 16 at the time and it felt like the squeaky wheel got the grease. Until I find out that Jimmy also got a $0.50 raise, and everyone else did too. Turns out the minimum wage was increasing nationally and they were legally obligated to give everyone a raise. When I confronted her about this, she turned the tables on me, telling me that talking about my pay with other employees was unprofessional. She went on vacation shortly after that. I taped my 2-week notice to her door the day after she left. TLDR. I worked my butt off for a minuscule raise only to find out that the raise was legally required anyways. Worked hard at my first job for an entire year after a $0.20 raise. Got a $0.10 raise after that year, while a guy that avoided work got $0.40. So I avoided working too hard for a year and got a $0.40 raise. No bulls. Also passed up a crew leader position to work in an easier area. Then they made me a crew leader anyway in the new area. I didn't even ask. And the company I work for now does some butt backwards stuff too. It drives me nuts. Progress takes time and there's a fine line between getting stuck because you're too good at something and getting moved on to promote you. Progress takes time and there's a fine line between getting stuck because you're too good at something and getting moved on to promote you. And that is why you change jobs every few years. I worked 4 years at a Walmart, almost constantly being praised as one of the best employees on my shift team. Now what kind of reward did I get for this? A raise? A promotion? Nope. I got a small pin I was allowed to wear that just said something like "management appreciates me." I was a really bit of a people pleaser when I was younger. Tried to do everything to make life for everyone easier. Turns out that they just took advantage on me. Givers need to know their limits, because takers don't have any. by being taken advantage of repeatedly. Go above and beyond the expectations in hopes to advance. You now have to do that advanced job with way more work for no pay increase and in less time than the people getting paid more than you. Don't ever let an employer know you're capable or willing to do significantly more work than anyone else for the same pay. If an opening arises and you have been consistent, you're more likely to get the position than someone who does twice the work you do for the same pay just because you follow the book more. This thread is a goldmine of career advice. I did something similar and ended up exactly how you described. There wasn't one particular moment for me, but the saying "it's better to be lucky than good" is oh so true at times. Sure, working hard helps, but being at the right place at the right time is often overlooked by those that purely equate hard work with success. Malcolm Gladwell talks about right place, right time and outliers. It's fascinating. Also made me realize how much luck there is in succeeding. Sometimes we do all the work, and it's not at the right place or right time, so we still fail. In the last 5 years, learned hard work hardly ever pays off. It's about working the system more than anything. The catch is that I suck at working the system. Dude lady, I'm not an butt kisser at work and hate work politics. I just want to do my best, get paid, recognized and given a raise and send me home. I don't care about stupid employee appreciation pizza parties or Christmas parties. Just give me money. 19 years old, I was working for a pet store inside a Dept store. Separate company. I was the assistant manager. Third in line. The assistant manager lived like 40 miles away, so she wasn't there very often, and the manager was being treated for ovarian cancer and lived 20 miles away. I lived 1 mile away. Keep in mind that even though I wasn't the manager, I was ordering thousands of dollars of stuff every week, calling the supply company, unloading it, stocking it, keeping records, etc. Training new employees. During one January snowstorm in New England, we got hit with 2 feet of snow overnight. I got called to go, and since the store had no power, I walked a mile in 2 feet of snow trying not to get hit by the fishtailing cars. I get there at 8 AM and they let me in while the few customers standing outside are frickin'. So I spend the entire day, 8 hours, taking care of the fish, birds, mammals, snakes, etc. Changing their litter, feeding them, removing the dead fish since the tanks were getting cooler with no heat, etc. My boss thanked me. She was great. 6 months later, I show up for my shift and my manager and her sister are standing there. Her sister was manager of another store of ours. Her sister talked to me and explained I was being let go because the quality of my work had dropped. I looked at my boss, whose head had been down, not looking at me. She gave me a look that basically screamed, "This isn't me." This came from above. She didn't say anything other than sorry, but the look told the entire story. I was mad at the sister at the time but quickly got over it. I realized what was up because I was running the entire store. So no, my quality hadn't slipped. 6 months later, the company went bankrupt and out of business. I laughed. The most insane part to me is that there were customers waiting outside of the pet store in 2 feet of snow. Every single retail job I ever worked, working harder, faster, smarter than co-workers never got you a raise or promotion or recognition. It just got you more tired. Not only more tired, but pretty much always punished if you decide to do a normal amount of work for your pay grade because you are tired. When I was proficient at my work and the boss brought in her old husband to replace me, I did the most amount of work on that particular task, the most anyone had ever done, but it wasn't good enough to keep me employed. I also did a great, determined job in the warehouse, but because the boss liked keeping us as casuals and cutting costs wherever possible, and glaring at me, too, I realized that working hard wasn't worth it. So study hard and earn qualifications and become a worthy asset. There's no such thing as indispensable, just expensive to replace. Worked for a company for a few years in my early 20s. Busted my boss and was essentially doing a manager's job for very little money. Our manager left a while before and they just had me take on his duties. They employed a 40-year-old guy to help in the warehouse doing basic stuff. They hired him on twice my salary. I brought it up with the owner and asked for a pay rise, laid out why I deserved one and went about it in the right way. His response was, "No, as I'm young. The other guy has a family and a house, that's why he's getting paid more." I could have lost my crap. Realized I needed to cut my losses. I quit on the spot. That's always an excuse. Good job recognizing the bulls. I was working retail overnight and I worked my butt off, partly to keep from getting tired. My living situation started falling apart and I had nowhere to go if I had to move, so I was very stressed. My fun boss who everyone loved came over to ask why I wasn't working as hard as usual. I told him I was possibly a week from being homeless, and he just kept smiling and repeating the phrase, "You're usually my superstar. I need you to be my superstar, buddy." My hard work wasn't valued at all. This boss only cared that I'd been making him look good by accomplishing so much. No one at the store actually cared about me as a person. I've told this story here before, but the truth is I never worked hard again. No matter how hard a job tried to pressure me that something absolutely had to be done, I never worked that hard for anyone ever again. All I have to say is frick your boss. I was probably 16 when I realized we were dirt poor and watched my dad kill himself working 12 hours a day and coming home coughing up black snot. Then when he got sick and went to the hospital due to his lungs, his company let him go and then fought him on unemployment. I wish people understood what coal mining does to you. Multiple times, in school, group projects, I always was one of the couple of people who would do their part and then I would have to make up for others not doing anything. Work 1. I worked my way up to being a shift manager at a gas station that basically allowed me to carry a key to the store and run the daily reports. I got no pay increase. 2. Now I am a software developer and I found out pretty quickly that if I stayed ahead of the added features curve, that I get no extra praise or recognition. Now, I do still stay ahead of the curve, but I only send out required updates when it's due. Kind of annoying, but it means I do less work in the day. My MO is to allocate enough time to do a group project by myself. I've thankfully never had to use all of that time since high school, but it's nice for preventing procrastination and making sure I don't ever lose points. I've worked blue collar jobs my entire life. It's a good way to pay a mortgage and not much more. If by chance I ever find a way to retire, I'll be too broken down physically to enjoy it. There are 2 Moldovan guys where I work that would be billionaires if hard work made you rich. Hard work pays off when it's your own crap you're working on. Working at a job, it seems the less I work, the more I make. Today when my dad told me about his boss that bought himself a brand new Mercedes Glare while he keeps cutting pay from all the workers in his factory, even though thanks to them he has record profits even in this corona crisis. Marx was right. After spending over a year researching and cross-sectioning samples, imaging them on powerful scopes, and measuring each sample at specific locations, proving my theory was valid and being told that the extra work time wouldn't validate the changes in the process and the value attained, they started using my idea within 6 months of my report being published. Guess who got no credit? I gave up after that. My first job was a cashier at Burger King. I worked my butt off. I was 16/17, in high school working over 40 hours every week, because frick child labor laws. Somehow my grades didn't suffer but my health did. I regularly would only get maybe 5 hours of sleep a week to a max of 4 or 5 a night, and that was very rare, usually only when I had a day off and most assignments caught up. Got a couple raises, but it wasn't worth what I was working. Many managers hated being the manager or even hated working, so they would give me their keys and say if I need anything. They would be out back smoking, in having sex in the bathroom, or outside on the phone, etc. Their whole shift. I became the manager without the pay. Finally got tired of it and put my 2 weeks in. They said if I stayed I would be a manager. So I stayed. Waited a couple weeks. Nothing. They hired a new dude straight on as a manager. Same deal. Dude just gave me his keys and stayed in the office on his phone. When I asked about being manager, the GM said they couldn't make me a manager because I'm needed in drive-thru and they won't be able to find a replacement. Okay, so give me a raise. No, we can't afford that. Make me a manager. No, we like you where you are. Okay, finally put my 2 weeks in and left officially. Frick that place. When I lost my student council election in 11th grade because although I'd run a thorough campaign with promises, lots of posters and actual campaigning, I lost to the popular dude who was on the football team. The studio I'm working at suffered pretty hard at the beginning of COVID. I was hired 2019 and I hadn't even been here a year yet. My co-worker has been working with the company for 10 or 15 years. I had new skills. I do graphic design. I know how to run a printer, and I know how to use 2 more programs than my co-worker did. He showed up earlier than he ever needed to and often stayed 30 minutes or an hour after he was supposed to clock out, and he was a hard worker and would cut his lunches short to make sure the shop was running. He could do everything printing and machine related in the shop, but technically he himself did not own any skills knowledge that someone else in the shop didn't already have. When COVID hit, he was one of the first laid off, but I still maintain my position even now. All because I know how to use Illustrator and Photoshop and he did not. 10 plus years experience and hours of extra work meant very little apparently. I've got survivor's guilt pretty bad and I can't imagine what he felt knowing I was keeping my job of 7 months and he was losing his of 15 years. I'm sure he's happy for me, but still, it's an extremely sobering experience. When I worked 45 days straight without taking any time off, and they wanted to give me a reward, not a promotion, or even a raise, but with a college football plaque for a team I never heard of, because I don't do sports. Different topic, but you reminded me, I also don't do sports. In college, I studied, turned in all my work complete and on time, never missed class. I had more than one professor who would offer extra credit questions about guessing the scores of the next Sunday's NFL games. After 17 years of working for a small company, I left as they were taking multiple companies into receivership. There is no such thing as loyalty. You are working for you and your family. Management and owners will never care about you. If your job is terrible, toe the line until you can find a better one and move on. Invest in yourself. Walmart took 1 year of hard work and one end of year review to show me that keep up the good work doesn't mean I'm doing good on paper. I graduated college in my late 30s after spending a little over a decade in the military and several years before that working crappy entry-level factory and manual labor jobs. Within 5 years of working professionally, where I sit on my butt in front of a computer, I've easily made way more money than I did my entire life. Second this, thinking of going back to school for software development, and this is my dream. Computer, at home in my PJs, making a good income. When I asked for him to hire another kennel attendant to keep up on the large amount of mess that 6 litters of puppies can produce on a daily basis because caring for them all and cleaning up was near impossible without taking a lunch break, he just told me to work harder and he will decide what's best for his business. Then my eyes were open to the fact that I was working at a glorified puppy mill and I got the frick out of there. I used to be a super hard worker who cared a lot about the quality of my work and making a good impression. But I made too much of a good impression and the expectations of me just got higher and higher with absolutely zero benefits to me. I just switched positions in the same company and now I get to be at the bottom of the totem pole again. No one asks me for extra help BC, I'm just the new girl. I've used this opportunity to set the bar low and keep it there. I take my assigned breaks. I don't go above and beyond. I do not come in early or leave late. I come in, do my job to the best of my ability without stressing out, keep to myself, and go home. It's perfect. At work, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Nepotism is king in a work environment, and no matter how much hard work you put in a job, if the higher ups don't like you, don't expect to move up. Or if higher ups are all family, friends or know each other, good luck. I made more in Tesla stock than what I make in a yearly salary, and I didn't do crap for Tesla while I gave my best years and soul to my work. When you see people get jobs based on their family working there and the benefits of a safety net, yay hard work can benefit you, but holy crap is having a family member you're on good terms with be in a spot to hire you on a huge multiplier. Think about how hard you have to work for 10k. Even in a good paying job it took good effort on your part, especially if it's an in-demand skill. Some folks just get that, sometimes more. Hard work made no difference. It's just a part of life right now. Dang nepotism, it really sucks. My first job out of grad school, spent 2.5 years there, consistently outperforming basically everyone. taking on larger and larger projects, and being a resource to new employees during the onboarding process. I asked for a promotion twice, got rejected for quite ridiculous reasons. After the second time I got rejected, my management meetings started getting negative. I wasn't a team player. I needed to take on more projects. I wasn't bringing in enough money. I was in development. After a month of these meetings, I saw the writing on the wall and started job searching like crazy. 3 months later, I cheerfully celebrated an offer that paid me 17k more, gave me the promotion I was looking for, and let me work from home whenever I wanted, before COVID. Do we do trigger warnings here? Pregnancy, loss and abortion. Probably my first career job. I was doing well, helping with all the extra that I didn't need to because it was a small business and I can appreciate that kind of thing. I was told to put a bug in my ear about being back office manager. Busted my butt. I became pregnant, had a miscarriage, and needed time. They expected everything to be all hunky-dory and for me to have sunshine blasting out of my butt when I came back. The manager shared with me about how one of the girls she used to work with had an abortion and she was okay after using a bunch of essential oils. I told her essential oils aren't going to bring back my dead expelled prababy. She told me to get out, so I did. The owner called me and begged me to come back. I told her no, I'm not going to be told that I'm not allowed to grieve over my miscarriage because the stupid manager had a friend who had an abortion. I was a competitive Irish step dancer for 7 years. There is a very well developed competition circuit in Irish step dancing, with local competitions called a FIS, qualifying you for regional competition known as the Oireachtas, which qualifies you for a national competition, which qualifies you for the World Championships. I started a little later than most at 9, but I worked my butt off, took 6-8 hours of classes per week and practiced on a stage in my parents' basements for an additional 2-4 HRS day, videotaped myself, had mirrors up so I could improve form, etc. But there was one kid in my age group who was the best in the world. He won the world championships multiple years in a row, and he didn't practice for crap, either. Our teacher confirmed to me that I outworked him day in and day out, but I never once beat him, all the way up until I injured my toe and gave up competing. I ended up performing professionally for about a decade after I stopped competing, often with him, and he and I became friends. But I could never, ever reach his skill level. There's a valuable lesson in there. I don't know what it is, but it's there. Skill and talent are two different things. I went to Christian school, and one of our teachers held a month-long contest where we'd do fun little things for points. Trivia contests like Jeopardy, basket weaving, or reading a certain book, etc. At the end of the month, the teacher promised an awesome prize for the winner. I worked so hard. I really went the extra mile. I even started a donation box for missionary work at my public school. I attended both, and then brought it to my teacher. At the end of the month, we counted the points and I just knew I was going to win the awesome mystery prize. I was right, and no child was quite as deserving as I was. The awesome mystery prize was a bookmark. A bookmark. That's not even a whole piece of paper. I vowed to keep that bookmark forever as a reminder that hard work doesn't always pay off. It's been almost 30 years and I still have my bookmark. I don't think I ever used it for reading, though. TLDR, the awesome mystery prize was a religious bookmark. I've kept it for 25 years as a reminder that it'll never be anything better than a dumb bookmark. At the end you should request to have that bookmark go in your coffin with you. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.